Hey, I'm Abe, and we're going to be getting under the hood of Warren G and Nate Dogg's stone cold G-Funk classic, Regulate. We're going to check out what some of the different instruments are up to, some of the potential thought processes behind the song, and how you can apply these concepts to your own music making. Let's get into it. G-Funk gets its name as a hip-hop descendant of P-Funk, Parliament, Funkadelic, and the mad genius of George Clinton and his cohorts. This sound is a major part of the DNA of West Coast hip-hop, which continues right through to this day, and probably the most prime example and blueprint of which is Snoop Dogg's Dr. Dre produced Doggy Style. For Regulate, however, Warren dipped his toes into the smoother waters of yacht rock and 80s blue-eyed soul with Michael McDonald's killer track, I Keep Forgetting. If you've never heard the original, I insist you check it out. Beyond great writing and Michael's majestic vocals, it also features some of the best session musicians of the era. The lineup is basically Toto with Lewis Johnson or the Brothers Johnson on bass. It's just all-round great music. As a quick disclaimer, the session I have up in front of me is not, in fact, the original Maltese of Regulate, but an Ableton session we've recreated for instrument lessons within Melodics. As such, I can't attest to the absolute note-for-note micro-timing or original instruments used, but hopefully you'll agree the vibe and feeling of the song is pretty close, and looking at it this way will allow us to dissect the track in greater detail. As a geeky liner note, a similarity to Chuck Jackson's 1962 song, I Keep Forgetting, composed by Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller. Lieber and Stoller were very famous songwriters, resulted in Lieber and Stoller also being given a songwriting credit for Michael McDonald's song, I Keep Forgetting, and therefore, Lieber and Stoller are also listed as writers on Warren G and Nate Dogg's Regulate. But I digress. We can leave it for now as saying Warren, who was also the producer of Regulate. I always thought it was Dre for some reason, but yeah, Warren produced it too. Sampled the opening bars and A section chord progression from I Keep Forgetting. The core element of this song and sample is the keys part. Crystal, our resident keys master, recreated the sound with an Arturio Rhodes Mark V patch, which I later added a little bit of Soundtoys Micro Shift to for some smooth chorusy goodness. But really, any Rhodes or Whirly patch should get you there, like Lounge Lizard, some of the stock ones in Ableton, anything with a vibey sound, because it's the part that makes this sound great. The chord progression is in E minor and centers around walking down from the E minor 7 to the D to C major 7, or you could say major 9 because there's a little D in there. Then it has this funky little turnaround which goes C major 7, B minor 7, A minor 7, F sharp 7, B minor 7, and back to E minor 7. You can see the exact voicings here in the MIDI, but I'm going to break it down for you real quick on guitar just to go through it a bit slower. So we got our E minor 7, regular kind of bar chord voicing, passing note as like a D7 or a D triad, down to a C major 7, regular type major 7 voicing. So that's like walking down the C major 7, B minor 7, A minor 7, F sharp minor 7, B minor 7, E minor 7. I'm using these voicings because of the top note has the same voice leading as the keys. So the only thing that's happening that isn't diatonic or within the key is this F sharp minor 7 passing chord, because it has a C sharp in there. We could think of this as a kind of alternate 5 chord to the B minor 7, or even both of those chords as an alternative kind of 2-5 progression to lead us back to the E minor. One of my early musical gurus told me that it's not where you're at, it's where you're going. i.e., you can play almost anything if you resolve it back in a way that feels musical. From a less theoretical perspective, though, I think it just sounds funky to have that momentary modulation that subtly pulls your ear in a different direction, so the progression never gets monotonous and feels fresh each time it cycles around. Arguably, the next most iconic part of the song is the bass. I've got a little bit of micro shift on there just for some chorusy bass, guilty pleasure, and a little bit of sidechain compression off the kick just to sit in the mix, but otherwise it's pretty just a DI. This part is a straight 4-bar loop in terms of what's been used in the sample, but check out what he plays on I Keep Forgetting, because it's quite amazing the whole way through. Here we go with the keys. I was really hoping that would drop right on, but you get what you get. And I'm gonna add in the guitar too, which just plays a little line at the end of each cycle. It's doing some really beautiful rhythm work. Some of my favorite guitar players ever come from this era. Players like Paul Jackson Jr., Steve Lukather, they had this ability to come up with really refined parts that also have these deeply funky pockets. Let's hear it at the end when the guitar's playing the busier line, and how the instruments are just weaving in and out of each other. So that's just 3 instruments. It's magical. It's like, that's a hit right there. Now, something quite cool to me is how there's a real bass part, and also an 808 bass part, or the 808 kick drum playing a low sub. This kind of bends a few presumed ways of doing things. The 808 bass here is just playing a low booming E in sync with the kick pattern. So here's the 808 bass. Here's what the kick's doing. Sometimes this is like right in with the string bass, and sometimes the notes rub against each other. I'll just play the 808 and the string bass together. They're not harmonic errors, but they're definitely close and low in a way which might be something people would think to avoid. I don't know if it was like a cerebral process. I think Warren just needed to make the trunk rattle and have some sub in there, but that's equally valid because we do have to trust the way things make us feel. The right EQ could get these elements sitting like kind of quite independently, because the string bass is quite like mid-rangey and even toppy, but to me, if it's funky, it's possible it's not meant to be so clean and perfect. There's those stories of Bob Power working with Q-Tip on the Tribe stuff, and Q-Tip saying he needed him to like undo the EQs and cleaning up he'd done because it was meant to have some of that mess and rub in the low end. And Terrace Martin said a similar thing working with Snoop on a song when the 808 was like out of tune with the track or maybe clashing with another low part, and Snoop said that he liked that. We've got to trust the way things make us feel, and all the rules in theory came after someone heard something they liked and had the courage to roll with it. A lesser known sample element, which I actually discovered digging into the song recently, is that this comes from a Bob James song called Sign of the Times, not to be confused with Prince's Sign o' the Times. But yeah, I'm not sure if it was chopped from the record or they copied the melody, but it definitely works with everything else. Listen to it sit with the elements from I Keep Forgetting. So you can hear in there, I've also got these Juno strings. In here it's just basic Ableton Juno strings and Bonfire bass, just an Ableton patch. They're very Terminator soundtrack vibes, but do a lot for the mood of the overall track and the texture and depth of the song. Let's look at the drums quickly. So we've got our kicks. I just used two 909s, one for the kind of toppy pop and one for the bottom with a bit more punch. We've got our 808 bass. The hi-hats were just ones that I felt pretty close to the recording. Closed hi-hat, open hi-hat. Used 808 snare, layered with a clap. And there we go. I mean, this is very like West Coast of the era. Still sounds pretty hip to me now. What we don't have is the sample that Warren used from the movie Young Guns, you know, where the guy's talking about regulators. I can't use that for obvious copyright reasons, but a lot of making music, what we're trying to do as producers is capture a vibe. I mean, this is quite literal that I'm trying to remake Regulate, but a lot of the time, if we can get something feeling like something, that's what both we and the artist is looking for. So like, I put a little bit of radio static in there. Oh, we got our organ, I forgot about doing the little turnaround bit. And here's our intro. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, you know, doing the world building work for us. It would be disrespectful not to acknowledge and bring attention to Nate Dogg's amazing melodic and lyrical contributions to this song. He's the greatest hook singer of all time for a reason. Fight me. I'll die on that hill. To come up with such hooky and original melodies over a chord progression where there's already such an iconic melody and take it in a different direction is like a real form of artistry to me. Yeah, so there we have it. If you want to learn to play this song on keys or pads for yourself, jump over to Melodics and check it out. Otherwise, I hope this was like helpful and interesting, and you maybe got a few ideas to bring into your own production and music making. Sweet. See you next time.